Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the Starkside. While you're here, I do appreciate it if you support the channel by hitting that like button, and if you're new here, please hit that subscribe, as well as the notification bell. So today we'll be taking a look at the ZD Toys Iron Man 3 movies Iron Man Mark 17. So here we have the Mark 17 on the rotating base. This figure is also part of my backlog to review, and I actually got this piece during my Hong Kong trip last November. This armor piece here is part of Iron Man's Iron Legion, and ZD Toys is planning to create and release all of the armors that are part of this. So I'm very excited to have started this set with Mark 17 here. Fun fact too, this armor is also codenamed Heartbreaker, mainly because of the huge oversized arc reactor that it has here on the front. Now, unfortunately, ZD Toys has only made LED versions of Iron Man's main armors, which are mostly those that are outside the Iron Legion, which is from Mark 8 to Mark 41. That's why we don't have an LED version of the Mark 17 here. Now, before we take a closer look at the figure itself, let's go over the packaging and the accessories. So the Mark 17 comes in this sleek looking packaging for ZD Toys Iron Man. Unlike the previous packaging, we don't have the arc reactor window here at the front. So for this figure here, we get an image of the armor here at the front. Then at the upper right corner, it says ZD Toys. Then at the bottom here, it says Iron Man 3. And we also get a Roman numeral here for Mark 17, as well as a Disney logo to show that this is an officially licensed toy line. And then at this side here, we get an Iron Man 3 movie logo again. Then at the other side, we get another movie logo plus the Mark 17 in this fight pose. Then we have another ZD Toy sticker here. And at the back, we get some nice renders of the figure here, as well as a few shots of the figure in some poses. And as with all ZD Toys packaging, the door is magnetized. Unfortunately, when you open it up, you'll see that this figure doesn't come with that huge card with an image of Iron Man, like with the Mark 42 here. But still, I'm liking the packaging that ZD Toys gives us. Now for its accessories, so opening this box here, you first see a clamshell for Iron Man. Then behind it is another clamshell with its accessories. Unlike with the Mark 6 and Mark 42 figures, the Mark 17 here comes with some basic accessories for Iron Man. So it comes with a bunch of alternate hands. So first we get a pair of fisted hands, two pairs of repulsor blast hands that don't have peg holes for the blast effects. So these two pairs here are different in terms of the way the peg hole here at the wrist is placed. So this first pair here looks like it's for a non-combat pose, I think, because of the way the peg hole here at the wrist is done. I think it's for when the armor is not being used or when it's deactivated. Then for the second pair, I think this is the one to use for combat poses because of the way the peg hole here is done. So you'd have the repulsor hands up and running for a fight. Then we also get a pair of repulsor blast hands that have peg holes for blast effects. And of course, we get the blast effects themselves, which look really good. So these look consistent with what we get with ZD Toys. As always, I like the orange gradient that we're seeing here. That's great. And lastly, we get this flight stand here, and it has this cool, simple, but sleek design to it. It has the Iron Man 3 logo here, but I do wish it came with a Mark 17 label to differentiate it from the other armors when they're all displayed together. But still, this looks nice. Now, taking a look at the figure itself, I think ZD Toys did a spectacular job with their Iron Man figures. The Mark 17 is one of the Iron Legion's iconic armors, and it's easily distinguishable from the others. I personally haven't seen any other toy line do the Mark 17 in this scale, And if you have been watching my channel, I've been pretty much using ZD Toys Iron Man figures for my 1/12 scale figures, so I'm happy to have the Mark 17 added to that. Anyway, let's take it off the rotating base and take a closer look. First things first, looking at the head sculpt here, I think this looks amazing. I like the gold that we get here. It looks so metallic, so clean. I love how they keep using black paint on the figure here to make the details pop even more. Like the lines here that go across the faceplate. Just wow. Up to this day, I can't really emphasize how impressed I am with ZD Toys for their Iron Man line. And it just makes me even more excited for when they release the rest of the armors. And like the head sculpt, the rest of the figure looks really great. It is super film accurate, and I think the level of detail that we get on the sculpt here on this figure is just so awesome. I mean, look at all the details that we get here. Like this entire chest plate here with the oversized arc reactor. Just wow. I do wish they painted the arc reactor somehow, since they never made an LED version of this figure. Because looking at the figure now, it just looks like Iron Man had this armor deactivated for good. But then again, you could do some digital editing to add some lighting effects to the figure, so the lack of paint on the art reactor here doesn't really bother me that much. The legs on this figure also look great, so these look really thick. And I'm loving the clean red that we get on this. Wow. Also at the back here, we get some added details in the sculpt. Unfortunately, we don't get any articulated flaps at the back of this figure. We do get some articulated flaps here behind the knees, and I think these were added to help increase the knee articulation on this figure, so that's great. Now more on the sculpt here, you don't see any marbling on this figure, so that's good. The black paint on the lines is pretty much consistent, and I don't think I've noticed any of the painted lines being messy, so that's cool. Other than what we've seen so far, I don't have any major complaints with this piece here. As I've said with my other figure reviews, I think ZD Toys does a good job of giving us mini Hot Toys figures for Iron Man. So overall, I love the sculpt and paint apps of this figure here. Now let's go over the articulation for the Mark 17 armor. As the head is on a ball peg, the neck articulation is going to be limited, so you can only look up that far, and not so much downwards. His head does rotate. You do get some neck pivot on this figure. It's not a lot, but you can pivot it a bit. Now, because of the shoulder sculpt here, his arms can move up only that far, even with the shoulders extended. But he can move them down all the way, so that's great. We also get butterfly joints, which for me is always great to have. His shoulders rotate 360. We get a bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, and unlike Marvel Legends, his wrists are on a ball peg so you can move them in all directions, so that's awesome. He has a diaphragm pivot, which is kind of different from the others, in which you really have to extend it first before you can even move it. And because of the size of the chest piece here, the movement is going to be limited too, but it's still something that you can work with. Moving on, his legs can kick forward that far and backwards as well. And like the shoulders, you can also extend it so you get drop down hips here, so his legs can kick forward and backward even further than before. And because of this feature here, his hips can move outward that far, so that's great. He has a thigh swivel, double jointed knees, and like his wrists, his ankles are on a ball joint so he can move in all directions. Now for some figure comparisons, here's the Mark 17 armor next to some other ZD Toys Iron Man figures that I've reviewed so far. We have the Mark 6, Mark 42, and the Mark 85. And I gotta say, it makes me really happy to see Iron Man figures that look like they're made of actual metal side by side. So that's my review of the ZD Toys Iron Man 3 movies Iron Man Mark 17. I think this figure has a decent amount of accessories, packaging is cool, and I think this figure has an awesome sculpt and excellent paint job. Lastly, while the articulation is limited in the torso area, you can do basic Iron Man poses, which is good for me. So, I do love this figure. And if you're wondering where I got this figure, so I got this figure from Inspoint. So if you want to check that out, there's a link to my Hong Kong toy hunting vlog down in the description below. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think of this figure. Let me know what you think of my review. Please leave a comment below. And if you like this video, I do appreciate it if you support the channel by hitting that like button. And if you still haven't, please hit that subscribe as well as the notification bell. You can also follow me on social media, links in the description below. And I'll see you guys in the next video.